To the event. We really appreciate it. We actually have an amazing speaker tonight from Fast Enterprises who will be going over some resume samples to help you build the perfect resume. And this is actually an excellent opportunity for everyone to fine tune your resumes before the career fair. So we thank you very much, Taylor, for your time here. Yeah, I'm sure everyone will find it very insightful and helpful. But before we get started, we just wanted to make some quick announcements. So just about CougarCS, just in case we have any new or prospective members. And we'll go ahead and share these slides afterwards because we know some people have classes, so they weren't able to attend. So we are the largest computer science organization at UH. Our mission is to transition students into young professionals, foster a community around diversity and inclusion, and provide mentorship and academic support for all students. And let's see. So here we have some upcoming events. The All Stop Career Bootcamp. Make sure to go there. You can also get your resume reviewed there, LinkedIn as well, and get a photograph, a headshot for your LinkedIn as well, in case anyone's missing one. And the Computer Science Career Fair. Please, everyone, attend that. Don't be afraid to attend. It's a great opportunity. It's a great learning experience. So even if you feel like you're not ready, you can still go and learn a lot from the career fair. And then we also have a few information sessions as well, which you can see the dates here as well. And then Intro to CS, just in case there's any freshmen. That's more geared towards freshmen and transfers. It's a really cool event to help everyone succeed in computer science and just give you tips about all that. But that's about it. We should have a link to it as well. Like I said, we'll share this so you guys can find out more information. And also, again, if there's any prospective members watching, we'll have the link to get more information about that. So let me go to the next slide. Nykolas, if you want to.
Yeah, so guys, for those of you who aren't aware, Code Red Hackathon is happening at this October, at the very start of October. The deadline to sign up is next Friday, September 17th. Come join for the opportunity to compete on teams, make cool solutions to open-ended problems, and win over $8,000 in prizes. Sign up at code.red. Yeah, guys, it's a great opportunity. Looks great on your resume, even if you don't feel confident or like you're able to meet the, build a great solution. It's about having fun and, participating. So definitely sign up, uhcode.red.
All right, thank you, Nykolas. And yeah, and now with that, I'll hand it back to Taylor so she can introduce herself and get this started. Thank you once again. We really appreciate your time here.
Yeah, of course. I will see if I can take the screen sharing abilities from you quick. Is everyone able to see my screen?
Yep.
Okay,
yes.
Awesome. Well, just kind of introducing myself really quick. I am Taylor and I'm a recruiter at FAST. We will be attending the career fair, the CS career fair that's coming up this coming week. So definitely feel free to stop by and say hello. Or if you just need a practice run to go by or you want us to look at your resume that you created after this presentation, more than happy to do that as well. But before we jump into the presentation itself, I do have a quick Fast Enterprises plug that we want to put in quick. I'm not going to go into too depth. We are going to be having an information session later. I believe it's next Tuesday. But just kind of quickly going over us as a company. So we are a software development and consulting company. We put that software in strictly for government agencies, offering those government agencies 4 software solutions. We have a tax software, which we call GenTax, which actually started back in 1999. We have an unemployment insurance software, which started back in 2009, which California was our first for that one. We have a driver and vehicle software solution, which our first client was in 2011. And then our most recent is actually this year, and it is in New Zealand, and it will be for our child support software. So really working with those government agencies, updating their out-of-date software so that everything runs a ton more efficiently and they're not having to do so much manual work. We have grown very, very rapidly. We're in about 40 different states at this point. We also are internationally. Because we are in so many different locations, we do relocate all of our employees. So for a full-time position, you would be relocated, and you would be relocated on average every 2 to 3 years. If you're looking for an internship, you would be relocated for the summer. I'm not really going to go into too much more depth than that. We have multiple positions that we are actively hiring for at this time. I can open it up for questions at the end, but at this point, I want to jump into the workshop itself. So we're going to make it a little bit more exciting than just the typical resume review and me just riddling off some things that you should include on your resume. So we made it more of a game, and we're using the game Clue. Hopefully most of you have played Clue before. I believe you all should have received 6 resumes. Am I correct with saying that? Yes, everyone has received those 6 resumes.
Yes.
I would have them up so that you can look at them. Are you saying yes, they have?
Yes, I'm sending the link in the chat now, guys. Go ahead and open up this folder that has the 6 resumes inside.
Cool. So as we're kind of going through it, at the end, we'll kind of talk through and decide which one is the best of the resumes as we kind of get these clues throughout the presentation. I would too note down some of these clues so that you can use them for your resume yourself. But our first clue that we have today, or I should say our suspects, we're using the Clue members, and those are the same people that you have the resumes for. So just make sure that you're looking over them as we're going through. Only one resume is going to pass the final. So make sure that you're kind of eliminating people as we're going through this that don't fit the terms that we're looking for.
Hey guys, just to check really quick, does everyone able to access that link all right? Able to pull it up?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Cool. All right, so for our first clue, and this is also going to require some participation. So if you guys want to unmute yourselves and answer these questions as I'm going through, or if you want to put them in the chat box, feel free to do either or. But our first clue that we have here are what are the right things to include on your resume. So if you guys, again, want to start pasting some ideas in the chat of what you 100% should have on your resume, that would be great. Or if you want to just take yourself off mute and you're brave and you want to speak, you can do that as well. Projects, yep, work experience, your name, 100%, your name should be at the top. GPA, skills, projects, your degree, you're going to college, you should be proud of that degree, so make sure that's put on there. Certificates, LinkedIn, if you have a LinkedIn profile, if you have a GitHub, anything along those lines that people can then go and look at your projects that you've done. Your different programming languages, your skills. Absolutely. Your portfolio website. So you guys are naming a majority of the ones that we suggest to have. So first and foremost, contact information, which one thing that I like to note here is a lot of people will just have their name and email. One thing that I encourage people to put on your resume is also a physical address that you could receive mail to. And the reason why I suggest this is because there's going to be a lot of times where, I shouldn't say a lot of times, but there's going to be times where businesses want to keep in contact with you or want to send you information. And the only way that they can do that is if you have a full physical address that they can send that to. I say it because we do it at Fast Enterprises. If we interview someone and we just don't have a position for them at that time, but we want to stay in touch because we think they are a great fit, we will send them a package in the mail. But we can't do that if you don't have that physical address. Obviously, we spoke on education, major, GPA, grad date. A lot of people will forget this. They won't put the date of when they're graduating, and it can be expected graduation date, but make sure that you are putting some type of date down next to your graduation and your major. That allows me as a recruiter to know, okay, they're looking for a full-time position or they're looking for an internship, and just kind of assessing your skills based off of that. With GPA too, if it is not above a 3.0, I would leave it out. If your cumulative GPA is below a 3.0,
You can just use that to take notes.
use your major GPA instead. Work experience, your skills, any extracurricular activities that you're in. I mean, you guys are all in this club. I would make sure you're including that on your resume. Go back. One other thing to note here with work experience, a lot of people get caught up on this and they think that they have to have internship experience. That is not the case. If you haven't had an internship, that is completely fine. You have done work projects in school, group projects, that you're gaining that same skill set that us as employers are looking for. So kind of start thinking outside of the box there. It doesn't just have to be jobs. It can be projects that you've done in school or outside of school that are utilizing that skill set that the company is then looking for. And then just some things that you can also include. I'm not going to read and go through all of these, but one thing that I would say is if you're using an objective statement, it should be very, very specific to the role that you're then applying for. So I know a lot of people will just put a very generic objective statement at the top of their resume, such as seeking a computer science or a software engineering role. Okay, that really doesn't tell me anything because I could have figured that out based off what your resume or what you're going to school for. Rather, maybe putting I'm seeking an internship at Fast Enterprises as an implementation consultant. That's very specific because you're naming the company name and you're also naming the position that you're going for. So if you're going to add it, make sure it's specific. I personally don't think it's necessary, but again, if you really like an objective statement, just make sure that it's very specific to the role that you're then applying for. And then just really the last one that I want to highlight in these optional topics is accomplishments/honors. And there's going to be many different names that honors and scholarships and awards have from university to university. So you might know what it means and it might be very common knowledge to you, but if I am looking at 100 different resumes and there's all these different names for the same scholarship or the same award that people received, and I don't know what you did to receive that, I'm not really that impressed. I'm like, okay, you got this award. I don't really know what you did to receive that award. I'm sure it was something really good, but I don't know. I don't know what that award is. I always tell people put a little bulletin point underneath it, explaining what you had to do in order to receive it. So maybe you had to hold a 3.5 GPA for all 4 semesters, or you had to do X amount of community service. Whatever it is that you're proud of, explain why you're proud of it so that I can understand why you're proud of it too. I will go through that chat box then when we're done to answer everyone's questions. I'm not going to attempt to read everything right now. I apologize, but I promise you I will get all your answers answered by the end of today's presentation.
Sure. Would you like us to read the messages? Would it be helpful?
Sure.
Okay, sure. So we have one question. I've always heard that time at a position long term is beneficial to list, even if it isn't relevant to the position you're applying for, as a means to showcase that you don't leave places quickly. Would you agree with this?
I would agree with that unless you have more pertinent experience that would be more helpful in the role. So let's say you were a waiter or a waitress at some restaurant for 6 years. That is very impressive because you're managing school. You're also you're gaining that customer service experience. Like they had said, you're not moving on from job to job. However, if you have an internship or you have several projects that you could fill in your resume that pertain more to the position that you're applying for, I would say add those over that waiter or waitress experience because it's going to show you have more of a skill set and you've been using that skill set more. During the interview process, that's when you could bring up, oh, I actually was a waiter or a waitress for 6 years during college. And then you can share that information with them. So then they're like, oh, wow, that's something I didn't even know about them. But that is useful information because they did gain soft skills from it.
Awesome. Yeah, that was a great answer. Another question for extracurricular activities, should I attempt to squeeze it out even though I might not have any?
If you don't have any, I don't think if there's no reason to try to force it. If you don't have any, I would say just fill up your resume with other stuff that's more useful and relevant. You don't have to make up stuff just to make up stuff to put on your resume. But if you have extracurricular activities that you're proud of and you want to put on your resume, go for it. Or if you have room in your resume, put them on.
Awesome.
All right, so kind of starting to look at those 6 resumes, figuring out which resumes included the information that we believe is very important to include, which ones didn't. And then next clue is make it easy to read. So first and foremost, I don't know if everyone knows this, but the average resume will get looked at for 6.5 seconds. So you spend all this time working on this piece of paper, and then someone glances at it for 6.5 seconds. So some things that I really want you to think about is that when you're formatting your resume, make sure that you're putting the most important information towards the top and towards the left. Think about how people read. People read from top to bottom, left to right. So anything that is going to grab their attention and force them to continue to read is better. Make them want to read or look at your resume for more than that 6 seconds. So bolding out information that would catch their eye as well. Keeping bulletin points concise so they don't think that they're having to read as much information. So maybe you have one long bulletin point that goes into 2 lines. Well, breaking that up so that it's 2 bulletin points that only go into 1 line. Again, you're still including all the information, but people think that they're reading less, so they're more inclined to read everything that you have. Matching your qualifications to each job. Now more than ever, I can't stress that it's very, very important to not just have a generic resume that you're then using to apply to every single position that you're going for. Companies are not looking for that. They're looking for people that are specifically wanting to work for them and for that specific position that they applied for. So reading over the job descriptions and pulling out any key words that you find in that. Maybe they're looking for problem solvers. Maybe they're looking for a specific programming language, and then adding that throughout your resume. So you're going to have multiple copies of your resume, or at least you should, so that you're really customizing each resume to each job you're then applying to. And balance. So talking about white space, so this kind of goes back to the extracurricular activities question, but you don't want to have too much white space, but you don't want to have not enough white space. Because again, if it gets to be too wordy, people aren't going to read it. They're just going to be like, that's too much to read, on to the next resume. So really pulling out the most important information and the most important experiences that you guys have had so far and putting that on your resume. And if you have to pull something out that you really, really want them to know, that's a great thing to add in during an interview when the interviewer asks, tell me about yourself. Add in that thing that you removed off your resume. So you're telling them something a little bit different and you're not just going down your resume. And I can't stress enough too, consistency. So a lot of people will use different fonts, different bulletin points. It just doesn't look professional. This is your one shot for someone to look at your resume and get a good idea of who you are as a worker, who you are as a person, who you are as a professional. So make sure that you're coming off in a very professional manner. And the way to do that, use the same fonts throughout, use the same bulletin points. If you're bolding certain words, bold them throughout the same way. Yeah, I would say those are probably the main 3 things that we see a lot of. Make sure you have no spelling errors. Making sure you're using correct grammar throughout. My personal opinion when I'm looking at a resume, if you list, so let's say you list off your school and you list off your major. Directly across from it, you will also list when you're expected to graduate, your date. Bold both of those so they link together. So it's very quickly to read down your resume. Okay, They're going for this degree, they're graduating here. Okay, they went and did this internship, bolded, for this amount of time. They did it for the summer of the summer in 2020. All right, next, and listing off it like side by side so that you're easily able to quickly read through it, and I don't have to spend a ton of time because again, that 6 seconds goes by super quick. So you want to make sure that you're grabbing their attention fast. Any questions on this?
So we have a couple questions. One is, should we add Udemy certifications to our resume?
Yeah, you can. I don't think that hurts.
Okay, cool. And then a question regarding the game of Clue. Do we call out answers as I guess as they arrive at them?
I would say we'll have you call out answers when we get to the end of the presentation, so you can kind of sort through. I'm gonna have I would probably have like 3 or 4 people volunteer to share their ranking of the resumes, and then we can kind of discuss a little bit more from there.
Sounds good. No more questions in the chat, guys. Any questions? Feel free to unmute yourselves.
If not, we'll
Hey
go.
there. Sorry. Yeah, can I ask, what do you think about as far as dates for education, like for degrees? Do you think like a start date and end date of when you, I guess, started the degree and when you finished, or do you think just like an end date of receiving it is good?
I don't really have a preference on that. I would say if you're doing just the end date, that you're doing that again consistently throughout. So if you have jobs listed there, or internships listed there, or projects listed there, that all of them have that just the end date. But if you're using that range, then you're using that range throughout.
Yeah, cool. That makes sense. Thank you.
Yep. Anything else before we move on?
So, quick question about the work experience thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you mentioned that, if you have like projects that we've done in class and stuff, we can put it in work experience. So would that just change the project experience as the title, or would it still be work experience if it just say class projects or just personal projects?
I would just say experience and leave it at that. So it doesn't have to be work experience or project experience. You could just have everything bulked together in an experience category or section.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Of course. All right, we'll move on to our next one. So this is pretty important when you're explaining the work that you've done, the projects that you've done, your internships, your work experience, all of that stuff. Explaining exactly what you did is very, very important to have bulletin points that clearly state it, and it's easy to read, and they're not having to read a ton. So the format that we suggest that you do is you start with an action verb. You add the skill, the task, and then if there is an end result, you add that as well. So I have an example here. So built being the action verb, a Twitter-inspired notification solution is the task that you did. Using AngularJS is the skill that you gained that was selected as a winning project, is the end result. Now, this would be a perfect bulletin point still if you just removed that result. You don't have to lie and say it was selected as a winning project if it wasn't selected as a winning project. So it's still going to be a good bulletin point without that. So just kind of thinking along those lines, but making sure that you're including at least an action verb at the beginning of each bulletin point that you have, a skill, and a task that you did. So we have a couple examples here without the results. To again give you some examples of what you could use on your resume. If you're having trouble coming up with some action verbs, it's a quick Google search. Just type in action verbs. They'll give you hundreds and hundreds of ones that you can use. I would try to use as many different ones as you can, just so again it doesn't seem like you're saying the same thing over and over and over again, and it looks like you're diverse. Any questions on bulletin points? Because honestly, this is one of the main things that makes your resume stand out, because you're explaining what work you're doing. I think I mentioned it already, but try to keep each bulletin point in one line. If it goes down to 2 lines, you should make it 2 bulletin points. or try to shorten it in some way.
I have a question. So if I am trying to describe something that I feel like could use a couple bullet points, can I refer to it using like vague, say built on this project I did this, and then like in the first bullet point I explain what it is. Second bullet point I just refer to it without like saying it's full, like without describing it a second time. Is that
The full name of it, you mean?
Yeah, I don't say the full name. I like refer to it with like I forget what it's called, but like saying it or that or this.
Yeah, no, I think so. Especially if it's a really long name. Yeah, I would say it's probably good to remove that so that it's not, again, repetitive.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
I have a question.
Sure.
And so about bullet points for, let's say, a specific section, let's take projects. So should each project, let's say we have multiple projects, should we have a consistent amount of bullet points? Or it could be like, maybe this project has 2 or 3, or another one has like 1. Because,
I say that's okay. I wouldn't have one that has 10 and the rest have 1. I would try to equal it out. But if one has 3, another has 4, another has 5, I think that's completely fine. I just wouldn't have one that has a ton and then the rest having none.
All right, thank you.
As long as your bulletin points are able to accurately describe what you did, that's perfect.
So for when you're describing like a professional experience, and you used a lot of tools, like many tools, so it's not practical to have like a line for. I mean, if you're just describing it, would you be able to say something like uses tool X, Y, and Z to do an action? Is that like, could you like have multiple tools listed on a single line, or is that like oversaturation?
No, I think that's fine. I've seen that a number of times. And I think it's good to include, honestly, just because then you're like, okay, they used all of these programming languages or tools or skills in this position. So it just shows the knowledge that you have and that you're bringing in. I also very much recommend, if you don't have a skill section, to have a skill section. It just brings it, again, to the recruiter's attention, what skills you have to offer at a quick glance. They're not having to search through all of your experiences to find those skills. They can quickly see it in one section and say, okay, perfect. They have the skills that we're looking for.
Thank you.
Oh, so do we have time for another question?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so now that you brought up skills, so as for skills, let's say I'm not comfortable with like a certain technology, and I have like a home lab, and that I described it in my project section, that I'm saying that I built a home lab with certain technologies, I'm practicing it, I'm not comfortable with it. Even if I'm not comfortable with those type of technology, should I keep it in my skill section, or should I just kind of like keep out those?
I would only include skills in your skill section on your resume that you're comfortable answering during an interview. So if someone asks you a question during an interview that you're not going to be able to answer, don't have it on your resume.
All right, thank you.
Anything else before we move on from this? At this point, we're going to start talking about the resumes that you guys have. So looking at the 6 resumes, I'll give you guys like 5 minutes. Look at them, figure out what order you'd put them in. Number 1 is the best resume, 6 is the worst resume. We can have 3 or 4 volunteers kind of go through and explain who they thought was the best, who they thought was the worst, and why. And then we can talk about that a little bit. So take 5 minutes, rank those resumes, and then we'll have some volunteers.
All right, I wonder. A lot of options here.
Nicholas, I think my 3 weeks have gotten a lot harder. This is very hard.
Oh yeah. Like your classes?
Oh yeah. This class is tough.
Oh, which one?
This resume workshop.
Oh yeah, this resume. Yeah, I'm learning some things.
I'll be honest, I've been trying to prepare so much that I've been almost just not paying attention in class.
You're trying to get a job. Best of luck, man.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, thanks. You as well.
Yeah, man. Keep coming out to these events. You get a bunch of good content.
Yeah, I've been enjoying them so far.
Awesome to hear.
Are people ready to, or do we have any volunteers that are willing to share their ranking?
Come on, let's see someone step up. I'm still deciding on my answers.
It's pretty hard. Still deciding.
So in my opinion, I think Blanche White has the worst resume because her fonts are not consistent at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one
yeah.
one giant block of text. I don't want to look at that much.
Mm-hmm.
Followed by that, it's Peter Plum.
Peter Plum?
Yeah, the bullet points are inconsistent.
Really? Actually, I thought Peter Plum has the best resume, man.
Yeah,
Really?
me too. And
Yeah.
it's the best. All
okay.
of them.
Yeah.
Same.
Man, you must have
I'd
not
say
gotten
these
enough
like
sleep.
over-designed resumes all
yeah,
kind of
me
fall
too.
short.
Dude,
Yeah.
did you see Scarlett's resume? How
Scarlett
could you
is the
genuinely say
worst by
Scarlett
far.
has a better resume than Peter Plum?
You say you don't have a caricature like drawing of yourself on your resume? Is that just me?
Are you guys not plugging your Instagram on your resume either? Like, come on.
Oh man,
you guys not
just
put your star
insulted.
sign on your resume?
You guys just insulted the entire continent of China.
Do you guys not have your Bitcoin wallet on your resume? Is that just me?
I actually think
Oh, can I see your resume right now?
I think Jonathan Green might. I'm battling between Jonathan Green and number 5, the girl that everybody's talking about, because
Same.
Jonathan Green, like, his only issue is it's the reference section.
Yeah, the men above.
Yeah, that's my only problem with it.
The man. Yeah,
Well,
anyone want to?
You guys are this bickering back and forth is exactly what we want you to do, because the point of this whole thing is that resumes aren't a science. One person's going to like one thing on a resume, another person's going to like something else. The main point is to have the information that you have. I mean, I think we all can agree that some of these resumes are terrible. And we can probably all agree that there's probably 3 that look decent that you would submit for a job. But the main thing is every employer that you talk to is going to want something a little bit different, or going to say, oh, I really like this aspect of your resume, or I would change this. So I think it's knowing that it's not a science and that everyone's going to like something a little bit different is good, because you're gonna please someone eventually with the resume that you have. I think it's important too to just remember the key things that we went over today is just making sure that you're coming in and you're looking professional. You're making sure that you're consistent throughout. You're including your experience. You have a skills section. If you're using that objective statement, you're making sure that it's super specific. The one thing that I didn't mention yet too that I think is very, very helpful, if you guys are applying to big name companies, Amazon, Google, I don't know, whoever else out there, they use filtering systems. A physical person's not going to be looking at your resume. So in that case, and in those situations, I suggest that you add a course section. And that is the only time that I suggest that you add a course section, and list off all of the courses that you've taken in your college career. The reasoning is you're going to ping more hits in that course section, and you're going to be more likely to move on to the next stage of the interview. If you know you're applying to a smaller company that looks at every single resume, I wouldn't include that course section because it's not really making you stand out amongst anyone else, because everyone at your college in your degree took those courses. But larger companies, higher chance of getting moved forward to an interview.
Taylor, I had a quick question.
Sure.
Is it common to ask for critiques for recruiters on your resume? Because I've had made that a habit every career fair when I go. I always ask critique on my resume.
Yeah, no, I think it's good to. Because like you said, you're going to get something, feedback a little bit different from every recruiter that you talk to. So it's it's helpful. And then you can make the changes that you want to make. And maybe someone says something that you don't agree with and you just don't make that change.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, what would be some good follow-up questions to ask?
In an interview or when?
Yes, during an interview.
Yeah. I mean, anything that pertains to the job itself. So, I mean, you want to make sure that you're listening throughout the interview process. So you're not asking questions that they've already answered or went into detail about. But I mean, anything that shows that you've done your research and you just want to know more. So maybe you saw on their website that they have a new client, asking about that new client or that new software solution, or maybe getting more explanation on the job that you're going to be doing. Is it going to be remote? Is it going to be in person? Especially right now, a lot of interviews are happening virtually. So get an idea of what the culture is like at the office. Stuff that you can't physically see that you would be able to see if you went in for an in-person interview. I don't think there's really a wrong question to ask other than a question that they already answered if you were listening through the interview.
Thank you.
Of course. That's all we really have for you today. So any other questions that you guys have regarding getting ready for the career fair, getting your resumes ready, interviews, ask away. I'm more than happy to get questions answered for you.
Hi, sorry, follow-up question. So what is the opinion or your opinion on adding our CougarNet email versus like a personal email?
Yeah, I don't think it really matters. I would say use the email that you check more frequently. So you're not going to miss an email that's coming in. If you're getting ready to graduate, I would switch over to a personal email because at some point, I believe you'll lose access to your school email address. I mean, at least I did. I'm assuming it's the same at Houston, that you would lose it.
Thank you.
Of course. And just make sure it's a professional email when you do change it to a personal one. We get some weird email addresses on resumes. Make sure it's professional.
So I have a question regarding to being at the career fair.
Mm-hmm.
And what would be, like, let's say, a good way to break the ice? You know, like your first step in front of the recruiter, or it's on a Zoom call. What would be like a good way to just kind of break the ice and just get the conversation going?
Yeah, like your elevator pitch.
Yeah.
I would say, honestly, you don't have to memorize what everyone has done. I think a lot of people get stuck on, well, I can't go talk to them because I didn't do any research on that company. I personally don't expect you to memorize what 15 companies do, what they offer, what the job entails, the name of the job. You don't need to know any of that. I think it's fine to go up and just introduce yourself, say your major, say if you're looking for a full-time or an internship, and then just say, do you have anything that would fall into that or would be of interest to me? And then just hear a little bit more. Just say, hey, can you tell me a little bit more about your company and what you have to offer? I mean, if you did research the company, you did take the time, that's when you could plug in some of the information that you did learn from them. But there's so many companies there that it's okay not to know everything. Just first and foremost, introduce yourself, tell them your major, tell them if you're looking for a full-time or an internship, and then just say, could you tell me a little bit about yourself and what positions you have to offer?
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Of course.
So will Fast Enterprises be at the career fair?
We are going to be at the career fair.
All right. And we can see you guys again next week on next Tuesday.
Yes, for the information session. Absolutely.
Yeah, guys, make sure you catch Fast Enterprises at the information session.
Anything else before we end today?
Looks like we have a question in the chat. Do you have a dedicated link for UH students to apply?
We do not. You would just go to our website and you would apply directly through there. You can note on the application though how you met us. There'll be a space for that if that's what you are wanting to do, but we don't have a designated link for specifically UNH students.
Cool. Any other questions, guys? This is a good chance to get your questions answered from someone who does hiring. You know, from someone on the other side of the table. It does look like people are arguing about which resume was the best in the clue. Is there an answer, or was the?
There's not really an answer, to be honest. I mean, there's not the right answers. But I mean, Blanche White would not be a top resume. I would say
Peter
Scarlett
Plum
would probably be a top. Plum would be a top.
Wait, Scarlett is a good one?
Scarlett's not terrible. I mean, I think all of the resumes have room for improvement. I'm totally against templates. She clearly used a template on it. But you might talk to another recruiter and they would say they absolutely hate templates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, Plum for the win. I think Plum has the best resume. Like simple to the point.
Yeah, I'm a second Plum. That's like unironically the best for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Mustard's not a good one. Too much white space. But I mean, again, there's a couple one that are decent that would I in my opinion would get you through to the next level.
Hey guys, as we're getting to the end of the event, if you guys could fill out this feedback form I put it in the chat, that lets us know what you guys think, and let us know what you guys like to see next. Really helps us out. So, yeah, please fill that out. It's in the chat.
Someone asked a question in the chat. Do you hire freshmen?
We do. Typically, we look for junior standing. However, there's going to be times where we take in underclassmen, so don't let that deter you from applying.
Gotcha. And one more quick question.
Sure.
Do you guys are you guys planning to hire like full time around maybe like December or beginning of next year?
For graduates that are graduate in like May of 2022?
No, graduate like this year, December.
Oh yeah, you can apply now. We're already going through the interview process for people that are graduating in May of 2022. So yep, if you're graduating in December, go ahead and get that resume in or application in.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Another question in the chat. What is something that really stands out to you, or something that you look for when you're looking at a candidate's resume?
Skill section is definitely something that I look for almost immediately, which is I would definitely encourage you guys, if you don't have a skill section, add a skill section. There was two parts of that question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it's just something that really stands out to you, or something that you look for in a resume.
Okay, yeah, then I guess that answered both. Definitely looking for that skill section, especially at FAST. But again, you're going to talk to a different recruiter and they're going to be looking for something different, but I would say skill section.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it definitely tailors to the company and like what you're doing. For one, you might have certificates, like security certificates, others you might not. So another question is, what do you look for looking at freshman resumes? So for freshmen who don't have much experience, what helps them their chances? What do you like to see?
Yeah. So freshmen can actually get away with putting stuff on their resumes that they had done in high school. So if you had projects that you did in high school or work experience that you did in high school, add that on. I think a lot of times freshmen will submit resumes that have a ton of white space because they don't think they have experience yet built up. You do. You went through high school. You're now a freshman in college. Fill that resume up. Whether it's group projects, individual projects, work experience, just show that you've done stuff. It's important to not have anything on your resume. We get a lot of very empty resumes, and then it looks like you don't have what it takes to do the position, when in reality you may have it. You just didn't put it down on the piece of paper. Also, I don't think I mentioned it, but keep your resume to one piece of paper. It shouldn't be more than one. Anything that you have to take out, that you want to keep on, that extends it to 2 pieces of paper, just make note of it and add it in your spiel when they ask you to tell them about yourself.
Yeah, that's a big rule of thumb. Keep it to 1 page. And then just a recommendation that I would give to everyone is send your resumes as a PDF. Export it from Docs or Word, or make it a PDF, because for a Docs file, it's going to change how it looks on every platform if you're looking at it on different screens. So PDF is going to be the same for everyone.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, what about the font size? Like, any recommendation for that?
I would say anywhere from 10 to 12 font. Don't go any smaller than 10. Don't get any larger than 12.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, this is Zeman again, the guy who asked about the elevator pitch. If you don't mind, could you go through again of what you mentioned about like what I could say during the elevator pitch? I kind of have social anxiety sometimes, and trying to push myself to go to a career fair just to kind of break that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's good to get practice, because the more times you do it, the better you're going to get at it and the more comfortable you're going to get at it. So I would say just go up, say your name. I'm sorry, I can't see the names. What is your name?
Zeman. I should be.
Zeman? Okay,
yeah.
You're highlighted now. I lost you, but yeah. Okay. So I
you.
would just go up and say, hi, I'm Zeman. What year are you?
I am a junior.
Okay, so hi, I'm Zeman. I'm a junior. I'm currently looking for an internship. I am obtaining, I don't know your degree, but I'm obtaining this degree. Could you tell me a little bit about your company and what positions that you have for a student in my degree?
Okay, I see. All right. Yeah, it's just it's a bit difficult difficult for me sometimes to kind of like get the conversation going. It's usually, that's my issue.
Yeah.
It's practice. It's just just go out to the career fair. Even if you don't get a job this time around, just go talk to a bunch of recruiters. It's really nothing to be nervous about. Once you get comfortable, it's totally normal. Like, I used to be really nervous about it too, but I mean, the recruiter's looking for promising candidates. You're looking for a cool job, so just speak to that.
And recruiters are all people. No one's wanting you to fail. So go in knowing that they want you to be succeed and get the job. 2, I always recommend, if you are really nervous, go to a company that you don't really care about first, or go to a couple companies that you don't really care about, and just give them your elevator pitch. And that way if you do mess up something, it's not the end of the world.
Okay, all right, good to know.
I always recommend it.
I like that. Definitely gonna use that for this career fair. You're gonna see me everywhere.
Yeah, even if it's us, we can be your practice run. I don't mind.
Oh man, I kind of regret putting my profile picture now.
Yeah. Anything else today?
I don't have any more questions, but I just wanted to say that I really like this session right here because I went to, I'm not going to say the company a couple days ago, but I didn't really enjoy it, but I enjoyed this one and I learned a lot from you. So I appreciate you taking the time coming to U of H, the best university in the nation. So thank you so much.
Of course. Well, I'm glad you took away some stuff and that it was helpful.
Indeed. Thank you.
And no one forget, we will be at the career fair. So if anyone's interested in any of our positions, come and see us.
See you there.
Who wants the recording? Because I'm going to get a copy of the recording. I can email it to someone. Does someone specifically want it?
Yes. Please. You can go ahead and email it to me. I'll send you. I'll send you my contact information. And then I'll upload it to YouTube and send it out to everyone.
Okay. Perfect. I can do that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Of course.
Sweet. Thank you so much.